Today I will present a really short video which will show you a technique how to link with Urubuyan Tala. Well, Urubuyan Tala is the chthonic realm, underworld realm of the Hindu cosmology, discovered by Tantric master Ayanian Gatisaman or Lavalian Gatisaman, sorry for the wrong pronunciation of the name. And this realm is, in my experience, really good if you want to open psychic abilities from the negative side of things. So Kundalvian Loka is positive dimension used for opening of psychic abilities, but Urubuyan Tala is the realm you should use to open psychic abilities from the negative side of things. I have practical experience with this as well as philosophical experience, philosophical stance on why this is the case. So, in reality, the element of the air or Vayu corresponds to psychic abilities a lot. Rudra or Shiva also is known to be Lord of the Air, and he is known to cause storms. So, through connecting with Urubuyan Tala, you are doing three things. You are connecting to the demonic entities of Urubuyan space. You are connecting to the negative aspects of the air. You are becoming more resonant with more destructive aspects of Lord Shiva. And you are fundamentally building yourself on a tantric path. Now, I need to elaborate that opening Urubuyan Tala will occasionally create chaotic things in your life, because that's negative energy for you guys. You cannot chill out while you are doing negative energy work, and this is some of my experience with Urubuyan Tala. By the way, I needed to say this because some of this was my personal experience and it wasn't listed on Ayan World Foundation websites and Patreon, but I needed to point this out because those talic spaces are much more complex than simply something you use for curses. They can be also used for many other things. For example, the Toluyan Tala of emptiness and depression can be used to increase your ability to enter into meditative state. So let's talk about Urubuyan Tala for a little bit more. So the yantra of Urubuyan Tala is on the screen. So you draw this yantra and you chant Urubuyan, 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 Urubuyan over and over again. While drawing the yantra, and when you finish drawing the yantra, you simply look at the yantra and you chant Urubuyan, 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 and you look in direction of the yantra. And over time the yantra will start to flash a little bit. Now, what is really important is that you don't look in any details of the yantra specifically. You simply look in its direction. Or even better, just put it in front of your eyes without thinking about it and chant. And over time the resonance will build up. When energy starts coming through, give a verbal request to the spirits of the talic space to attune you to the negative energy of the space. That is extremely beneficial, because that will allow you to work with this space without necessarily a lot of negative consequences. So after energy starts coming through and the spirits of the Tantric space start attuning you to the space, what you should do is you should simply keep chanting while the energy is flowing from the yantra to you, and you should keep chanting and energy will keep coming. Now, what is important here is that there are different stages you need to be aware of while you do this ritual of attunement to the Tantric space. So the first stage is a little euphoria, a little arrival of energy, which makes you feel heat or feel high. Stage 2 is uncomfortable feeling of stress. Stage 3 is really heavy pressure. And the stage 4 is like enormous euphoria. It's ideal for beginners to stop at stage 1. So you start chanting and resonating with the Tantric space until you feel a little bit of euphoria, and then you stop. Once you finish attuning to the space, the best thing to do is to burn the yantra down. Because in the beginning you don't want to have yantra open too much, and you don't want to keep the yantra, because as long as yantra is drawn and opened, it doesn't stop sending energy into your life in one way or the other. So you need to dispose of it in the beginning until you have a really high level of resonance with the space of your choosing. Now, what is also relevant to this is another technology. In this technique, you don't have to necessarily draw the yantra. Instead, you lie down and you visualize it while you chant. Now, you need to close your eyes while you are visualizing, and you need to relax. And pretty quickly you will fall into a state between dreaming and being awake. That's called the trance. And once you reach that trance state in between, while you are visualizing, you chant, and then essentially the energy will start flowing to you. This technique is best done once you memorize the yantra. So before you essentially start doing this technology, my advice is to draw the yantra over and over until you're able to draw it from memory. And then after you do so, what you should do is start visualizing it while lying down and in a trance state. This technique is different because it connects you to the space on a more internal level, and it does not necessarily present a lot of energy from the resonant space in the outside world. Now, when you draw the yantras, in order to memorize them, what I recommend is don't try to open them. Simply draw them and silently chant, and don't focus on opening one specific page, because the goal here is not to create a physical nexion for the yantra. The goal is to, if you want to use the dreaming technique, simply memorize the yantra before you start visualizing it. Because if you don't have accurate memorization of the yantra from memory, visualization will fail. That's the reason why you have to draw it over and over again until you memorize it. Uruboyan Tala space is easy yantra to draw and easy yantra to memorize. It's not complex. And this is also extremely beneficial for psychic abilities. This specific energy, out of all of the negative spaces in the book, I find Uruboyan to be the most beneficial for psychic development, because Uruboyan space essentially doesn't have a side effect which is present in Toluyan. Toluyan is good for psychic abilities, but Toluyan is also a space which causes depression, while Urubuyan is not so severe in effects. So that's why I chose Urubuyan over Toloyan space. So you will see Urubuyan yantra on a screen. I explained you two different techniques of connecting to Urubuyan, and I will explain them once again. So the first technique of connecting to Urubuyan is you draw Urubuyan yantra, you put it in front of your eyes, and then you don't focus on specific lines. Instead, you just look in the direction of the yantra and chant Urubuyan, 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 Urubuyan. And over time, the yantra will start to flash, energy will start to flow. Once the energy starts to flow, you need to be aware that you attracted the attention of many wind-destructive spirits which inhabit Urubuyan. And so you will tell them to literally attune you to the negative energy of Urubuyan Tala and to your own negative energy and enhance your psychic abilities, because that's the goal of this rite. And they will do exactly that really well. And once you start feeling slight euphoria, thank the spirits of Urubuyan, be grateful for the energy, and burn the yantra down, because you don't want to have physical yantras in your life in the beginning, because as soon as you open the yantra, it's never completely closed. It doesn't matter if you end the ritual. The thing is, if you don't have attunement to that negative energy, the mere fact that you drew the yantra will cause some form of weird effects. Because once you draw those yantras, they have certain effects independently of your intent. Those are like sonic keys, like codes to certain realms. Another method is to not focus on yantra or anything. Another method is to simply draw the yantra over and over while really silently chanting until you memorize the yantra completely. And then you start relaxing and sleeping. Like you relax and you put yourself in a state between sleep and waking state. So you simply close your eyes. And once you kind of start to fall asleep, you also start visualizing the yantra and chanting. So in this method, you don't draw the yantra when you want to connect with it, you simply visualize it. And if you want to use this method, what I recommend is for about 10 days, as soon as the night falls and you are free, you just go into your room and draw the yantra over and over. And in 10 days of drawing yantra like this, you will definitely learn to draw it from memory. What is important in this method is that you burn all of the yantras of the Urubuyan Tala space as soon as you finish drawing them. So, for example, you draw 20 times Urubuyan, and after you finish drawing, you burn them down, because you don't want the physical copies of the yantra in the beginning to be present in your life. Yantra is negative. It's chaotic, so you don't want it in your life until you attune. Once you attune, you can skip the burning part and you can preserve the yantras and use them for all kinds of purposes. But until you are attuned, having them physically in your life is not necessarily the best thing ever. There is one other thing which can be done with Urubuyan, and that's curse. Okay. So you draw Urubuyan yantra, you open it up with the first method I showed. So not with visualization, but with the first method showed in the video. And then what you need to do is, when the spirits of Urubuyan kind of come forth, when the energy comes forth, you literally tell them that you want person so and so to be cursed, and then you visualize bad things happening to that person, and you chant Urubuyan, 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 Urubuyan over and over. And you do it until you start feeling enormous euphoria. That is a sign that spirits will do what you told them to do, and that they already started to work. What this does is this is extremely difficult and painful form of operation. You essentially bind the essence of that person to the Urubuyan Tala, and since majority of people are completely unattuned to their own negativity, it will fuck their life first on a mental level and then on all other levels. So yes, I essentially showed you 3 different ways to utilize Urubuyan Yantra and open Urubuyan Tala, and I showed you what are the benefits of using it outside of curses. And I encourage other spiritual aspirants to experiment with Urubuyan and with other talas outside of necessarily only painful intent, because those negative energy currents are extremely beneficial for us as people who want to work on Tantric path, and they are sources of enlightenment. They are not simply needles or daggers for stabbing of people. They can be used for destructive purposes, to harm people, obviously. That's one of the main uses for those realms, but they also can be used on a path of spiritual elevation to the Brahman, and my goal in this video was to show how. So thank you for watching, and see you tomorrow, guys.